We're actually going to talk about cardio in general and what is cardio and why does it really matter, right? So cardiovascular exercise is simply, when we break down the word cardio, cardio literally means heart, and vascular, I want you to think about that like your veins and your capillaries and the arteries in your body. So when we combine all these together, we have our cardiovascular system. And this system is super, super crucial and important for not only improving our overall fitness and potentially helping us lose some weight, but just keeping us alive, right? If our cardiovascular system isn't up and running and isn't working to its fullest capability, then that's it. That's why a lot of times when people, they have heart attacks or they have some heart palpitations, maybe they have a genital defect, they have huge issues in their overall quality of life. Ultimately, sometimes to the point where they die very, very young, very, very early, or just potentially earlier than they would if they didn't have cardiovascular issues. In addition to your heart, veins, and capillaries, your lungs are also a part of this as well. And it may seem kind of weird when you're thinking about like, oh, cardio, like I'm working my heart. How would my lungs have anything to do with this? Well, the lungs are actually super crucial in what they bring into the body. If we think about the nutrients that we need to stay alive, one of the big ones is oxygen. And oxygen actually comes in through our mouth, of course, goes into our body, and then our lungs, there's certain capillaries and different types of, we just mentioned vasculature that actually exists in the lungs, which take it in, absorb it, and then the oxygen, once it's through the lungs, will then go into the bloodstream. Once it's in the bloodstream, the oxygen that we just inhaled can then go to the tissues. Then at the tissues, they'll of course use the oxygen. Once the oxygen is used, carbon dioxide is a byproduct, but it can't just stay in there, otherwise you would die. So it needs to come back into your cells, back out through the lungs, and then once it's in the lungs, that's when you exhale it. So that's kind of the whole general overarching cardiovascular system in a nutshell. When we're talking about actually having a good cardiovascular system, it's basically how well can we take in oxygen, shuttle it to all those cells in our body, use it for the given tasks, let's say running, for example, since we're talking about cardiovascular exercise, and then take the waste out and repeat this numerous times for as long as we need to do the physical activity. So if you have a good cardiovascular system, you're going to be able to do all those processes very, very well. Not so much, as we just mentioned, maybe you have a heart defect, maybe your cardio isn't as good, you won't be able to do this as well, which makes not only exercise exponentially more challenging, but all those other aspects of daily life are incredibly more difficult as well. So why does it matter? Well, of course it matters because, as we just mentioned, if you can't do this well, your life, it's going to be hard to go up a flight of stairs. You're going to struggle bringing in groceries. If you have kids or even grandkids, or don't have kids, but you want to someday, right? All of these things are going to be much more difficult because your body can't keep up with it. Specifically, your cardiovascular system can't keep up with what your body wants to do. So this is why trying to improve our cardio is so important. Also too, and we'll kind of talk about a few more of the benefits a little bit later in the podcast, but just generally speaking, good cardiovascular fitness lowers the chances of different comorbidities, and we'll talk about what that is in a second. Improved quality of life, you're just going to be able to enjoy doing all those different things you want much more. And we're also going to talk about a few other potential benefits from doing cardio a little bit later in the podcast as well. But what is cardio? Why does it matter? It's basically your body's ability to, of course, take in all the nutrients that we breathe in, shuttle it to the different cells and different organs and processes that need that oxygen, take the waste from it, and then just shuttle it back out into the world. etc., etc. So super important.